Spider-Man has been between the ages of 15 and 28 for 64 years. While this issue pertains to almost all of comics, Spider-Man is the most egregious. Marvel's afraid of letting him age in any meaningful way. In the comics, he's been out of college since 1978, and hasn't obtained a long-lasting job that adds to his character. And in the media outside of the comics, he's perpetually a high schooler / college student. This is supposed to be a relatable character to last a millennia, but there is nothing relatable or interesting about this. Fortunately, we are seeing a subtle shift to older Peter, but still it is not being pushed hard enough. The first push in this direction comes from the best piece of Spider-Man media in the last decade, Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse solves the issue of wanting an older Spider-Man and younger one by breaking them into two characters, Miles Morales and Peter B. Parker. This Peter is physically aged, but mentally as well.
I'm doing what needs to be done. I just wanted you to hear it from me.
What about MJ?
Not everything works out, kid.
Peter is grizzled and slightly nihilistic.
Teenagers, just the worst.
This characterization comes from the trials he had experienced as he grew, things he did when he was younger that didn't plan out due to his previous naivety, leading to an unoptimistic view. So unoptimistic that he is unbearable.
Kingpin's trying to kill
Who
me.
cares about that? Where's the collider?
This version's biggest struggles came from his relationships, Aunt May's death and his divorce. Mary Jane divorced him as they grew to wanting different things in their life. She wanted to have kids and Peter didn't, spiraling him into... Fortunately, he went through some life-changing events alongside a kid with exaggerated swagger. He learns to be optimistic again, but not in the way he was before. He's laid back, even in the face of stressful situations, but not because he is naive. This time it's through his wisdom, through experiencing the great hardships and getting out the other side that bring him reassurance. This reassurance gives him the confidence to start the family he thought he didn't want, starting over with Mary Jane and becoming the father of May Parker. This story, having an older Peter, extends the relatability of the character. While I don't find this relatable, there are those who do, and so will I one day when I reach that age, giving me a version of Spider-Man to eventually grow to adore, while still giving me a version to relate to through Miles. This iteration showed that we need to see this happen to Peter in the mainline comics. In some ways, we are close to the reality, through 2024's Ultimate Spider-Man. Although it is not the main comic line, instead, it was relegated to a fleeting line of comics. It cannot be allowed to remain only in the Ultimate Universe. While it not being a typical Spider-Man who grew with age, instead, it takes the path of giving Peter those powers at 35. When he receives his powers, he has a wife and kids. He has responsibility to maintain his home and his relationships and his family. This iteration cannot give everything to be the wall crawler. He must weigh his responsibilities, ones that we really have not seen him have before. This doesn't just apply to the responsibilities, but even his standing in society. The difference gives him new opportunities that he did not have as a young man. Those which change the story through progression. His friendship with Harry, for example, is extremely professional. They go to fancy dinners and have talks about corporate/job responsibilities. Despite the initial promise of the series, it did not deliver. Any interesting narratives of Peter having to balance being Spider-Man and a father is completely absent after the first few issues. What should have been a progression of Spider-Man stories became a regression. One of the most intriguing parts should be his family. Unfortunately, his children are barely even characters. May, for instance, is there, and Richard is relegated to having a crush on Felicia and being Spider-Boy, which should be interesting, but it's not. He almost gets killed and acts like nothing happened. They say he is grounded, but next time we see him, he is out being Spider-Boy. This is not how parenting works. Peter is claimed to be a spectacular father, and that is all we have. A claim. What is the point of him being a father if we don't get to see him taking them to school, or the doctors, him disciplining his children, or taking them to dance recital or soccer practice? It feels like his family was just used to reel us into the same old Spider-Man stories. If that wasn't bad enough, one of the main plot lines involves the villains learning of his family's identities. This event should be their Arc M, where those he loves gets targeted while he is being tortured underground. Yeah, that doesn't happen. He just escapes with ease, and the villains who know are actually good guys. Yay! Yet again, using the family narrative as makeup on the pig of generic Spider-Man stories. Well, at least work of accessibility Spider-Man, right? No. His work has zero effect on the story. He might as well be another billionaire superhero. He has to quit his job, that we never see, to escape to the middle of nowhere, and when he gets back, he is still unemployed. And assumingly remains that way as Alicia has several $100 million and shares that with him. Where is the relatability? This should have been the de facto older Spider-Man story. Instead, it will be used as a way for Marvel to justify not having Peter grow older. Well, there is a short comic book series that somewhat fulfills the role Ultimate Spider-Man should have. A blueprint for Peter's complete story. Spider-Man Life Story. The entire premise of this comic is his life throughout the decades, each issue dealing with a single snapshot of said decade. It mashes his comic events of that period to that of the comic. An utterly heartbreaking series. Peter goes from an arrogant young man to an arrogant old man. We see him actually get a job that isn't the Bugle. Then he becomes a CEO and holds the job down for decades. Insane! Unlike Ultimate Spider-Man, him having a job adds to his responsibility, as does his family. As you expect Spider-Man to be, he can't help himself. He cannot let someone die because he looked the other way. He is either working on his company that helps the world through technological advancements, or by being on the field. This subtracts time away from his wife, kids, and Aunt May. She has grown old and frail and requires Peter's aid, but because Peter's too busy with other duties, it falls on MJ. His wife that essentially has no husband, children with no father, and an aunt with no nephew. As you can imagine, MJ gets fed up and leaves with the kids, a consequence of not prioritizing his family. The point in the comic which separates it the most from typical Spider-Man is seen in his 50s. After experiencing repeated tragedy, he finally does it! He puts the suit down, he returns to his family, prioritizing his familial responsibility over the world, but not leaving it without someone to take his place. In this instance, his clone, Ben Reilly. Of course, as expected of Peter, this could not last long. The moment he catches a whiff of criminal activity, he's thrusted back into action. The action that leads to his death. A man who, even if he tried, cannot forego the responsibility that came with his power. Fortunately, he leaves the world with those who will carry on his legacy. His daughter, who isn't named May, and Miles Morales. This is unarguably the best depiction of Peter aging, which is a travesty, that it is only a 6-issue miniseries. Could you imagine the sort of impact a full-scale series this would have, especially for those fans who are older than current Spider-Man? The reality is, Spider-Man as his teenager/young adult hero does not need to change, but the character behind it does. And we have that person, Miles. He's the one to take up the role. A lot of kids are now looking up to him as their Spider-Man, so Peter no longer needs to be stagnant. He can become relatable again, the ultimate relatability that is aging. There is Spider-Verse, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Spider-Man Life Story, but it isn't enough, especially since Ultimate Spider-Man did nothing with him being older. People can still be fans, no matter the age, and that age should be represented in the supposed most relatable superhero of all time.